who else doesn't get paid? The plaintiff and their attorney. So when an attorney sues you and they want to find the profitability of your company and get the money out of that, what's the chances that they're actually going to get paid? Zero, only if you set it up appropriately. If you have it in your own name, what's the chances of them getting their money? 100%. Okay? Just in an LLC, about 98%. Okay? You have to make sure the structure is right, the verbiage changes as well, and you have it in the right state. If you don't have a registered agent or you don't know what that is, you don't have it. Number two, if you haven't gone to an asset protection attorney to get this specifically, you also don't have the right verbiage. Now, here's one of the things that I really like about this. It creates huge advantage for you from a legal perspective. How many of you play sports? Okay, what have you learned in sports as far as defense? What is the very best defense that you can have?
Good offense.
A good offense. That's the answer I was looking for. Who said that? You get a gold star. Okay? Gold star. Okay? The IRS created a ruling in 1977. It's called 137. It says a plaintiff using the charging order will have to pay income tax on any monetary judgment, even if the defendant elects not to pay. So I'm going to give you a scenario here really quick. What's your name, sir? Sevi. So Sevi. Okay, so Sevi is suing Cynthia. And Cynthia, sorry I'm picking on you again. But Sevi, I fined for you in a lawsuit for $1 million. Now, if Cynthia had the verbiage of a pro rata distribution, this is how that judgment would look. Hey, Cynthia, I fined for Sevi for $1 million. I'm going to legally obligate you to pay him over the next 3 to 4 years until the judgment is satisfied. If you make more money, your funds will be distributed to him until that judgment is satisfied. I can even garnish your wages on a professional aspect to reduce how much you're making as well in order to satisfy this judgment. How are you feeling about that? Well, you can't. The judgment's already been placed. You can't hide it now. But you're not broke. You just lost $1 million lawsuit. Does that make sense? You can tell me any story you want to, but as soon as you're legally obligated to pay, you have to pay. You're screwed. Effectively, financially. Yep, you are. Because you didn't plan. Now, if you would have planned and you changed to a non-pro rata verbiage, this is what it looks like. Hey, Sevi, I fined for $1 million, but Cynthia, legally I have no right or authority to force you to pay him, so I'm going to ask you, when would you like to begin to pay the judgment that I've just awarded? Never. The appropriate answer is never. I'm never paying him. Now, if she elects not to pay him, what law does she break? None. She didn't break the law. She elected not to take a financial distribution herself, and as long as she doesn't take that distribution to herself and she gives it to her husband instead, Sevi will never get a dime. That's all because of the verbiage that's changed inside the documents and the structure and the state and the types of entities that you have. So it's not just one thing, it's about 5 or 6 things. Now, here's what's really good. So Sevi, you didn't get paid at all from Cynthia, right? And then you get this love letter from the IRS after this judgment, and it says you get to pay taxes on that $1 million that you'll never get. No, actually way. So I'm going to ask you, if you want to sue me, go ahead.
I have a question about what if she decides to take the money 10 years later?
Then she has to pay it to him.
Is there a time limit?
Nope.
Okay.
Sorry. As soon as she takes the financial distribution, it goes there. But here's what really happens. Here's what really happens. Do you think it ever is going to get to a judgment? No, in 2 weeks, Sevi's attorney is going to get smart and say, oh crap, even if I win this lawsuit, I'm not going to get paid? Yep. So why am I going to pursue the lawsuit? That's a really good question. Do you want to? Well, no. Okay, see you later. We've protected clients for over 15 years. None of them have been sued to completion. None of them get to the point of this judgment. So in a hypothetical situation, sure, but it's not going to get there. Okay? This is why lawsuits don't continue. This is why there are very few lawsuits. In fact, I have clients here who've said that they were going to be sued. I found out that they were clients of ours, and they didn't even file the lawsuit. Okay? You control the motivation, you control the lawsuit. So what do you do now? Well, let's go ahead and protect yourselves. You protect your family. You do a trust. So here's my fun question for you. Does a trust protect you from a lawsuit?
Yes.
How many of you say yes? How many of you say no? How many of you don't know? I like that. Okay, see, that's why we're here. We're here to get educated, right? That's what I told my stupid smart friends. Cool. Here's my estate planning. You need a trust. There are two different types of trusts. There is a revocable trust, one that can be changed. Okay, so if your life is going to change in the next year or 5, you're probably going to want a revocable trust. The revocable trust does not protect your assets from a lawsuit while you're alive. As soon as you pass away, it turns into an irrevocable trust. And then it protects your assets from a lawsuit. And the biggest one is called probate. But for irrevocable trust, you can always create a trust that's specific to a entity, for maybe just your home. Okay? You can do that. You can put it into an irrevocable trust. The only way to get out of that is if you sell it. So if you want to sell your house, then you can put it into an irrevocable trust. That's okay. If you don't want to sell it at all, you can also put it into an irrevocable trust, or you can put it into a revocable trust. You can modify that. Now, a revocable trust, like I said, does not protect your assets from a lawsuit. So when I ask that question, does a trust protect your assets from a lawsuit? It depends. That's an attorney's favorite answer to every question you ask them. It all depends. Okay? I learned that from the attorneys in my office. Okay? It depends. The revocable trust holds the LLCs and the LPs and the asset management companies, which hold your assets. See those layers that happen there? Okay? What are you protecting? You're protecting your family. So you put a will inside of it. If you have a will, you paid about $150 for it, good job. It's not worth the paper that it's written on. Unless you put it inside of a trust. Okay? True story. My grandfather died at 75 years old. My grandmother died at 98. In her 97th year, one of my aunts went up to my grandmother and said, "Hey, here's a will. Give all the assets over to me. Thank you." Signed the will. My grandmother passes away. My father and his 12 siblings are now sitting around a table deciding how they're going to split mom and dad's assets up. And my aunt stands up and says, "Don't worry guys, I got this taken care of. Mom gave me a will, giving me all of the assets. Here it is." How much love was in that room right there? A little awkward? Yeah. Okay? So my dad stood up, grabbed the will and ripped it in half, said this wasn't worth anything. How stupid do you think mom and dad were? Mom and dad created a trust over 40 years ago. When dad was in his 40s, it's actually over 50 years ago, he created a trust. So that will is worthless that you have. Unless the will's inside of the trust, it's worthless. So the will inside of the trust is non-disputable. Anybody here have to go through probate in their life? Excellent. How long did it last for you? Is it still going? I should ask. Okay.
Around 24 months.
About 24 months. Well, that's pretty fast. Okay. The longest I've heard this year, I started asking that question this year, 18 years and counting. The average, I would say, is about 8 years of probate court. Go ahead. Garrett, our attorney, is going to be taking the floor for a second.
I'll share with you all a personal experience as well from my own law practice before coming to Legally Mine. So currently, I represent a husband and wife, and this is going on now for 7th year with a probate matter. They had a son who was killed in a car accident, and this son was born with a birth defect that was due to physician negligence. So there was a settlement involved. The son, he received an annuity, which was to be paid out over a certain amount of time. Well, he passes away in a car accident. Mom and dad come to me and ask me to help them navigate probate. In California, probate averages about 3 years. It's not a fast process. Like I said, I've been with this couple for about 7 years now. Their probate will not end until 2036 because the annuity did not have a pay on death clause. So probate can go for a while.
Yeah. So another one that I want to share with along that, I got a trust because I had kids. And here's what I did. So I have a life insurance policy on myself, if I were to die with a life insurance policy and my kids are under the age of 18 and I don't have my kids within a trust going to specific parents, they become children of the state. Okay, and then they're going to try to find a foster. There is a chance they're going to find a foster parent. And if they find a foster parent, guess who gets the money from my life insurance policy? My kids? The foster parents. Okay? So the reason you create these things is to protect your investments that you're already making. Right? I already have this money for my kids. I think I'm set up. Well, you put it inside of a trust and then you really do have it. Okay? It's what I really have, what's been frustrating for me when I got into business and I started doing this stuff and finding out that I was in lawsuits. I thought I was doing it all right in the first place. And I was so frustrated. I wanted to strangle my attorney's neck because he didn't teach me any of this stuff. Like, what were you doing? What am I paying you for? He says, you paid me to create an LLC. But I don't want to get sued. Well, I know, that's why we created the LLC. But I'm still getting sued. Okay? You have to... You guys are specializing in multifamily residential. Other people are specializing in commercial. Others are specializing in residential single-family homes. Okay? When you specialize in something, that's what you do. Right? And so we go to the general attorney that does estate planning, and you think, hey, can you protect my assets from a lawsuit? Will this protect me when I debt from a lawsuit? That's like, yes. What their meaning is, it'll protect you when you die, but not while you're alive. Okay? So they're not lying when they say, will this protect you from a lawsuit? Yes, but not while you're alive. Okay, cool. I'll beat that to a pulp. Good news, tax savings. It's the responsibility of every American citizen to ensure you do not overpay in your tax codes. That's the first page of this tax code. And this is just the 2022 edition. So if you want to read it, just a casual read. I put that mine on the back of the toilet so you're never really bored.
The U.S. tax code actually, it has to be shelved in a room that's approximately 20,000 square feet.
The tax code fills
The tax
20,000
code.
square feet.
Yeah.
And if you're not, he's the tax attorney, he's the main tax attorney, so he's going to talk to us about this. Did you not tell me that no person in the IRS even probably understands it because
Very
every
few of them.
legislation has a new tax?
Every piece of legislation that comes out of the House and Congress, there is some line in there or clause that affects the U.S. tax code.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about that. Here's the most frustrating thing. I go to my CPA, recount this for yourselves. Have you ever gone to your CPA and said, is there anything else you can do to help me save money on my taxes? Does anybody ask their CPA that question, or am I the only one that did? Yeah. Okay, and what did they answer you in a similar way they answered to me? They said, sure, what would you like me to do? And I said, let me rephrase that question. I was hoping there was something that you could do to help me.
Exactly.
Right? Here's what I recognize. CPAs, accountants, are not tax strategists. What they do is they do bookkeeping. Where do you spend your money? Let's categorize that. Awesome. And then when I categorize all those expenses, I'm going to give them to the tax preparation team, who's also the same person, and he prepares your taxes in about 2 days, because it doesn't take very long to prepare taxes. And then they file them for you. And then you're saying, well, I have some tax strategies. The only strategies that a CPA has given you are the ones that he's used in the past, and he's willing to use again. And he's not going to invest his time to find more strategies to save you money on taxes. Why? Because it doesn't benefit him or her. That was a sexist comment. They. Doesn't it? Okay? It does. There's no benefit. Okay? So you specialize in this. You've hired guys like this who actually read the tax code. He showed me this as the income tax map. So, taxes made easy. I can't even read that. So if you want to know how the taxes work, let's sit down and talk about that for a second. Okay? How about we don't go over this, and I'm just going to show you some high points. Okay? Some things that will give you the biggest bang for your buck. Number one, hire a tax strategist, because they will work with your CPA and show them how easy this is to do. Okay? The way that you receive income determines how you're going to pay money on taxes. Okay? You will pay different in taxes through real estate than you did through a K-1 or through your W-2 employment, or if you're getting commissions, 1099. All of this stuff you're paying a different type of tax. Okay? You can pay yourself as an S-Corp owner, If you're paying yourself through an S corporation, you can pay yourself through distributions and dividends. Now, if you've been an S corp owner, you're like, yes, I've seen this one, thank you. You're right. Here's why you do this. If you pay yourself, let's just say $200,000 income, $100,000 is a W-2, the other $100,000 comes through a distribution. Okay? You will not pay a FICA tax, which is 15% federal, and whatever your state tax level is. Here, it's nothing, but that's still $15,000 going right to your bottom line. Okay? The IRS doesn't even see it. Now, of that percentage, that $100,000 that you paid yourself through the K-1 or through the distribution, you can fill out 7 pieces of paper and reduce your taxable income on that portion by 20% by filling out 7 pieces of paper. Does it matter how much? Yeah, you can take a distribution of up to $415,000 and reduce that by 20%. If you're a high income earner, why are you taking a giant salary? Well, because I make that much money. Okay. You're going to get taxed you're going to get taxed a lot, okay? So what you want to do is say, I'm going to pay myself a little bit differently, and then I'll be able to utilize tax codes that I couldn't use otherwise. The only reason you need a high salary, the only reason, is if you want a big loan. It's the only reason. You could change the way you get paid and pocket $20,000 to $40,000 in taxes every year by paying yourself different, and then you don't need a big loan anymore. Winner, winner, chicken dinner. Okay? Be strategic on what you're doing. Income shifting. Can you legally pay your children? Yes. At what age? 12. Any age. How do you validate that? The law allows me to.
As a model?
As a model.
Maybe.
Yeah, so it doesn't matter how old they are. It matters, can they perform the task that you're asking them to do. Did anybody see a picture of my family today? I got a 3-year-old, a 13-year-old, and a 15-year-old. Who got paid? Damn straight they did. Okay, how many of them will actually see the money? So here's what I did. I took that $13,850 and I paid them out of my partnership, not my S corporation, because I can't through an S corp. I paid them through my partnership. And when I do that, I reduce my taxable burden. But I take that money and I put it into a 529C account. And then I have compounding interest every single year that inflates that money every single year. And so now I create this huge education money for my family. Okay, I can even distribute, or I can gift my children $17,000 each. Myself and my wife can each distribute to each child $17,000, correct? Tell me I'm right.
16 in 2023.
Sorry,
Goes up to
16,000.
17.
Up to 17.
So a total of 32,000 from mom and dad to child A.
Okay,
32,000
16.
to child B, 32,000 to child C.
Perfect. So $32,000 per kid. Is that a big deal? Yeah. I mean, I call this the Chelsea Clinton rule. The reason why I do that is because I love politics. Okay? I recognize that Donald Trump uses a lot of tax laws. And people think, well, he's the only guy who does it. I want to tell you it's on both sides of the aisle. So I'm not going to tell you which side to vote for, but I will tell you this. When Chelsea Clinton was going to college, she was paid as a consultant for the nonprofit organization that her parents owned, and she was paid $250,000 per year as an 18-year-old. $250,000 a year. Okay? Now, what did she do with that money? She took the money and she paid $200,000 to go to school, and then she paid taxes on $50,000. Why? Because the $200,000 was a write-off for education. Is that legal? Yes, it's called smart. Okay? There's a reason you use the laws. So on the $50,000, she paid about $7,000 in taxes. Now, if mom and dad would have paid themselves first and then had to pay taxes on that before they gave her $250,000, it's about $135,000 in taxes. So they saved $128,000 in taxes by paying them differently. So it's your choice at the end of the day how you're going to pay your kids, or if you can at all. It's also your choice if you want to do that. Is it ethically correct? Here's what's fun. Ethics and legal are two completely different things. Okay? I can legally sue you unethically. I can unethically take advantage of legal laws. Okay? It's your decision on how far of the legal side you want to follow, but each one of these laws are built for you to stay in business so that you can continue to do what you're already doing. Or you can just leave an extra tip to the IRS because they do such a good job. Okay, it's your call what you want to do. Using your house as a business place. You can use your home office. A lot of you work from home, yeah? Okay? So if you work from home, you can use your home office space. Now this is a catch-22. If you utilize this tax code, it's fantastic because it saves you money in the immediate time. But I'll tell you this, unless you're planning on living there forever and not selling it, or if you need the money right now, I wouldn't do it. Why? Because if I buy my house today, and I have like a $500,000 house, and I have $100,000 worth of equity, and I use this for the next 20 years, I'm going to save $5,000 a year in taxes. And that $5,000 a year will then go to $100,000 that I will have to pay in capital gains when I sell my house. Okay? So it's a catch-22. If I need the money, do it. If you don't need the money, then don't. Right? If you're going to live there for the rest of your life, absolutely do it. Put it in a irrevocable trust. Great. Because here's what's fun about a trust. As soon as you pass away, the value of your property resets to today's value. So if I bought a property for $250,000 20 years ago, and it's now worth $2.5 million, and I sell that before I die, I will pay capital gains on the difference of $250,000 and $2.5 million. Or I can wait until I die and let my kids sell it, and the day after I die that they sell it, there is zero capital gains tax to be paid. Just by following law. Is that true too? See, I'm not lying to you guys. I got a tax attorney to verify it. Okay.
Section 114, 115.
He actually knows this section. I really love this dude. Okay, here's another one that I absolutely love. Anybody here play golf or like to watch golf? Okay, at least 4 of you. That's good. Okay. Real quick before I move forward, what's your question?
Oh, can't you offset your capital gains tax burden from 1031?
That's a question for him. I'll let him answer that one. Okay? 288 Section G. It's called the Augusta Rule. When I say Augusta, what do you think of? Golf. That's why I ask if people watch golf. That's good. Augusta is the Masters. You have this golf tournament. And if you've ever been to Augusta, Georgia, there's like 5 or 6 hotels there. And there's 100,000 patrons that come to the Masters. Where do people stay? Homes. That's right. Have you been there? Have you done it? Cool. Okay? Now, when you pay the house, the house can charge anyone or any business up to 14 times a year, and they can consider that money as non-taxable income. Okay, so now you got to think about this. Well, I have a house. Can I use that? Just go ask your spouse, hey, is it okay if we rent our house out for 14 days? What's she going to say to you? Good luck. That ain't happening. So what do you say? Well, what if I rent it out to my business? That's a good idea. Now your business has to have a legal purpose of why it's being rented out. What are you obligated to do in order to maintain the integrity of your business? If you're a corporation, you have to have corporate meetings. And how often do you legally have to hold those corporate meetings? This is great. Can I tell you? Regularly. You have to do it at least once a year, but you have to do it regularly. So how about once a month? And now if your business is paying your house, it's a business expense, and your house receives this income, houses don't make money. That money goes right to the homeowners or whoever's renting it. Okay, so if you're renting a house, you don't own a house yet, you can still utilize this is what I'm saying. Not your renters are taking your money. Okay, you don't want to do that one. Okay, so the money effectively goes to you, and you claim that as income to the IRS. You don't say, you didn't see this. It's not cash under the table. It's a line item. You say, I made $30,000 paying myself through my house right here, and that I will pay $0 in taxes on that. Now, if you go back to Augusta, guess who owns the real estate in Augusta? Most of the real estate in Augusta. Politicians. So politicians are utilizing this law. They're utilizing it because they understand that there are very little regulations placed behind it. Now, there are algorithms to make sure you stay within the realm of possibilities. For example, if I make $100,000 a year, can I write $50,000 off in corporate meetings? Good luck. Okay, you're going to get red flagged on that one. Okay, but if I make $1 million a year and I do $50,000 in corporate meetings, is that more justifiable? Yeah, so what you do is you hire a tax attorney and say, hey, how much can I actually charge? And the tax attorney takes a look at your situation and says, this is how much you can charge every single month or every year. Okay? That's how that works. Non-taxable income saves you thousands. What would $30,000 to you, $30,000 directly to you that is not taxed, save you? In my case, it's about $12,000 a year. And I use that money to make sure our family can go to Mexico to see our family. Now, if I didn't utilize that code, I couldn't take my family to Mexico to see their family. So when you look at a legal and ethical side, there's an ethical side of me that says, man, I really feel like I'm taking one, like I'm kind of squeezing one over on the IRS. But at the same time, I said, you know what? I think my kids should know their grandparents and their cousins more than the IRS should have my money. Okay? So that's how you come up with, that's how I justify everything. Okay? Everything's a justification in business. Okay? Oh, I'll go back here. Once this animation is all done, and then we get to watch it again on instant replay. Come on, baby, get done. Okay, let's go back a slide. Okay, regular attorneys, and when I did this, it cost me about $25,000 to do it. Right now it's at least $30,000. You have multiple attorneys sitting in one room trying to identify what you need, and they will converse, and they'll say, my opinion is better than yours, because every opinion has the best opinion, right? Every attorney feels like their opinion should be heard more than anything. Really, the thing I like about working at our office is we have multiple types of attorneys. When they sit down together, they understand there's a give and take. Yes, you could do that, but if you do that, this happens. Oh, okay, I get that. So there's a rationalization. Now, if you look at this is your cost for different types of entities. A trust, $3,000 to $15,000. They usually, for asset protection, one of the things I've heard is it's about 3% of your gross income. So whatever 3% is, that's what you can plan on paying almost on a yearly basis to make sure you have asset protection. Okay? That's what most people will charge. That's where you get the $30,000 mark on how much people are going to charge for this. It's expensive, it's time consuming, it's important. Legally Mind's been doing something for the last 15 years that I think is amazing. When I did this, I became a client of Legally Mind after my lawsuits. I'm worth more than I was then, and now I don't get sued. Because no one wants to sue me because they can't get any money out of me. Right? Lawsuits don't continue. What they did is they said, look, instead of like going to this conference and giving you a DVD and say, hey, this is how you're supposed to do it, call me, and I might be able to help you out, but this is a pamphlet, just go watch this. We said, you know, those DVDs sit on people's shelves next to the P90X workout videos. You know, and why do they sit there? You guys like to be fit, you want to be fit, you just don't want to do the work. People do what they like to do and what they're good at. Hence the fact P90X collects dust. Okay, same thing happens here. Every one of you in this room recognizes that this is an important thing to have. You get it. So I'm not going to sell you a DVD so you can go have it be a poster for your next party at your house. For the last 15 years, we've been implementing the strategies. This is how that works. You engage in our services. Within 24 hours, you'll get a text message to ask for your next appointment. Okay, you'll schedule a 1.5-hour appointment to understand, so we can understand what you've got. What are you trying to protect? Okay, where's your money? Where's your investment portfolio? They're going to ask for your last 2 years of taxes sooner than later. And then they'll take that information, they'll give it to a team of attorneys, they create a blueprint. They'll then have a conversation with you that lasts about 90 minutes that understand this is what your situation looks like. This is the different types of entities we're going to build and how we're going to structure this so that you're protected. You get an understanding of that? Great. Well, how does this affect me taxes? That's great. I'm going to set up a one-on-one appointment with you with one of our tax attorneys, probably Garrett. And Garrett's going to look at your last 2 years of your tax returns and say, based upon this structure and these taxes, this is how it's going to benefit you, and this is how you're going to have to start paying yourself, and this is what you're going to do here. And then your CPA is going to have to do this, this, and this. You're like, wow, that's a lot of work. I don't know if I can do that. Did you hire a CPA? Yeah. Well, let's talk to them for 15 minutes. So he ends up having a one-on-one appointment with your CPA for 15 minutes, and they review how to do all the bookkeeping side of it. Is it a lot more in bookkeeping? Nope. It's just categorized. It's the same amount of expenses that you have. It's just different types of categories, different types of bank accounts that you're utilizing. We do this for one price. It's $8,400. We want to make sure that everyone in here is protected. Okay? This is an event price. If you don't do it today, that's okay. You don't have to do it today. You will be paying the market rate for each one of those entities. So what I'm saying is you can leverage this for one price. I need 1 hour a month from you for the next 3 to 4 months, and I can get your work done. I just have to understand what I'm doing. And our team, I mean, Garrett's really good at being an attorney, a tax attorney, but there's not a whole lot that he can do unless he actually talks to you, right? So I need, who thinks they can give me 1 hour a month to get this type of protection? Just 1 hour a month, that's all I'm asking. You guys don't have 1 hour? Okay, everybody has an hour. I promise, you guys are here right now, okay? You have an hour, right? Okay, it's painless because someone else is doing it for you. And as your CPA, here's what's fun. Your CPA is no longer responsible if they take the information that you give them and our tax attorney gives them and they just do the work that we ask them to do, they're no longer liable. Okay, when a CPA tells you you don't qualify for this, it's code for I don't know how to do that. Okay? A lot of you will go back to your CPA and say, hey, can I save money on, can I pay my kids? They'll say, no, you can't. Well, this guy told me I can. Well, they're wrong. Do you know why they're wrong? It's because you're an S corporation. You haven't taxed yourself as a partnership yet. And you're like, well, I want to keep the S corp because this and this. Or you could do something else and leverage that fact that you can also pay yourself through different avenues, and we can work with you to make sure that happens. What does $8,400 include? $6,000 for unlimited entities. I don't care if it's FLPs or trusts or wills. I don't care if it's if you have 80 real estate properties, it's going to cost you the exact same as someone who has 2. Okay? In the same aspect, if you already have a trust, it's going to cost the same amount as somebody else who doesn't have a trust. I get it. All right? The reason why we put it on there is because this is about the price of one trust. And the reason why we can offer such a low rate, I only have one brick and mortar building. Zoom is fantastic. Okay? It allows us to keep the rates super low. And if they're low, it's a benefit to you, the end user. Okay? This is how you keep the rates low. The other fee is $2,400. It's a yearly fee. You pay it one time for the first year. We get 1 year to earn your business. If you didn't like talking with me or Garrett or our team, then you don't have to pay that in year 2, but you still own all of the entities. You're still legally protected. It includes a year of management of your asset protection, a continued member support. If you're a deep diver, analytical guy who can't make a decision without reading all the news, as a client, I will give you all of that information. I'll give you a library of more information than you can shake a stick at. Okay? And I shake a lot of sticks, so it's just 0 for 3 on bad jokes today. So bad. It's not even a good dad joke, right? You can laugh at me or with me. It's okay. Okay, cool. Personalized asset protection strategy and tax strategy. You have access to our team of attorneys. In fact, Garrett, do you mind coming up here for a quick second and just telling us like what a tax appointment looks like with you?
So like Gary said, when I first meet with one of our Legally Mind members to do taxes, typically the member asks me, so tell me about the tax strategies that I can use. Well, to be honest, there are 50, 75, 100 plus different strategies, but they're not all going to be applicable to you. And so what I do is, quite literally, that first appointment is I want to get to know you, your situation, what are your businesses, what you're doing, and then I ask you to forward to me at least the most recent 2 years of tax returns, both personal and business. By doing that, I can quickly see at this point, I can see a pretty good snapshot, tax-wise, where you're at, and I can see what strategies you may be using, but more importantly, what strategies apply to you that you are not using, which you are probably not aware of, and I can almost guarantee you your accountant is not aware of. And so, at Legally Mine, from a tax perspective, I help you to personally tailor a way to minimize your tax liability.
Perfect. And do you work with their CPAs? What does a CPA conversation look like?
Typically, a CPA conversation starts off with, oh, well, that's not a good strategy, that's not going to apply to them. Give me 15 minutes with your CPA and I can change their mind. I can show them and I can help educate them, because in my experience, a CPA, the very first thing they're concerned with, they don't want to do anything that will raise IRS scrutiny. They don't want to be involved in an audit. represented clients in enough audits to know that they are not as miserable of an experience as people think they are, especially if you have helped that client to do everything they need to do to have everything in line. So a CPA, once you can help them realize that the strategies that we're helping the client to use, they are vetted strategies. The IRS, they don't even bat an eye at them when they are used properly. And by helping the CPA understand that, and also helping the CPA understand how to practically implement that strategy, the CPA usually then very quickly realizes, oh, wait a minute, this is an extra tool that I can use as a professional in my toolbox to help all of my other clients. And it becomes very advantageous for them as well.
Thanks, Gary. So yeah, and sometimes I'll try to use it with other clients and and we get a lot of referrals from CPAs because they say, well, this situation is a little bit different, is it the same? I said, well, as much as Garrett wants to come out here and work with everyone individually, he's so busy with just our own clients that he has to stick with just our clients. Sorry, you can't work there, he's our client. Remember that? Just kidding. Okay? So true though, it's so big. HIPAA, let's do acts to our staff. So if you ever need to talk to him, your CPA needs to talk to him, you're not going to be nickel and dime, it's part of the fee. Okay? For those who signed up with us today, we're going to give you a tax savings guarantee. Meaning I'm going to find $8,400 in new tax savings when he reviews the last 2 years of your tax returns. If he only finds $2,000 in tax return savings we can get you, I'll give you $6,400 back. Because I don't want your money. Okay? What I want is I want you to save money every single year for the next 10, 20 years. And the IRS doesn't get that. And if you go 10 years saving $10,000, you made an investment for $8,400, you're saving $100,000 for one decision. Okay? If you don't make a decision, you find out you could save $10,000 a year, and in 10 years you're going to say, I paid the IRS a $100,000 tip. Okay? Do it while you're thinking about it. Do all that. Your time is the most valuable asset you have. I spoke with someone here today who is also an attorney who does real estate property, and he says, look, I don't necessarily have the time to do all this stuff, but I want somebody to do it for me. Okay? I get that. Healthcare professionals, business owners, people who have money, okay, who want to protect it, lawyers, they all recognize that their time is valuable, so let somebody else do what they're really good at, so it frees up time for you to do what you're really good at it. So I'm going to go ahead and open up for some Q&A. Garrett, if you want to join me really quick, you can. What questions do you guys have for us?
I got a question.
Go, Tim.
On the legal entity topic, I think you mentioned right at the beginning how as people get really wealthy, oftentimes they try to look normal, or even, I don't want to use the word poor, but they will literally wear like shoes with holes in them to look poor. I was at a property in Aventura and I was talking with the owner, and this guy was talking about buying deals $60 million in cash. And he had just a plain white t-shirt on, old, worn out shoes, didn't have a care in the world about what he looked like. And it was a good testament to that. With proper legal structure, I think you can talk to, and then my question is about, there's a way to do things so people, even smart legal people, can't see what you own. Somebody can't run a search on you and find out all the properties you own, so you can sort of hide, in a sense, because there are a lot of people out there looking to people that have a lot of property and maybe don't have a great legal structure, and they'll find a reason to sue you. So if you could talk a little bit about that, if you guys are able to kind of support this anonymous type of a structure where it obscures what you have.
So I'll answer the first part, and if you want to take it after me, that's great. So the first thing I would say is, anyone can look up to try to find the things you have, you just want to make it more difficult. Okay, so you're not doing anything that's illegal. In fact, the way that I like to do it is to say, I would rather have everything in the, take away the blinds. And I want people to see that I have a royal flush. So when you sue me, I said, here's my royal flush. Do you want to keep going? Does that make sense? I don't have to have an ace up my sleeve. There's nothing hiding. It's like, here's the royal flush. Now that you know everything that I have, you see everything that I own, now what do you want to sue me for? So what's the point in hiding when you do it legal and it's right in front of your face? That's the way that I like to do it. So even if they do find me, even if they do the asset search, and even if they find how much money I'm worth, I'm like, great, good job, here you go. I could have done the work for you, just ask me for it. But you're still not gonna get anything. You wanna go into that at all?
So you kind of have two different trains of thought. You know, Gary's train of thought, which I agree with. You know, from an attorney perspective, litigation is a game. It's a chess game. You have your moves, the opponent has their moves, and what are you doing to basically hedge them into a position where they can't move? And that's what asset protection does. In regards to the question of anonymity with entities, there are two states that do, Secretary of State of Alaska and of Wyoming, they do value anonymity. With both states, when you file articles of incorporation or articles of formation, you do not have to put down your own name individually. Many times with many of our members, we have set up for them multi-levels of asset protection. So you might form an LLC that may be a single member or a multi-member LLC, and those members are LLCs themselves. And then you look at those LLCs and you can see that those LLCs were formed with other LLCs, either as a single member or a multi-member. State of Alaska, going back to previously we talked about charge orders. In the Alaska charge orders, there is a section in there where it states you cannot, through motion on the court or through a judgment, seek the identity of the member of an LLC. So Alaska's even gone to the point where they have codified it in their state laws to shelter you and your identity. Wyoming does something similar, but they haven't gone to the full extent that Alaska does.
Learn something new every day. Okay, that's pretty amazing. I don't know if we can do that. Cool. Yeah, question in the back here.
Yeah, it's similar on the same kind of thing, anonymity.
My attorney has filed all my LLCs in Wyoming, or most of my LLCs there. And what they do is when they file in there, when you file in Wyoming, first you have a registered agent as well as the organizer. The organizer is an employee of my law firm, which is in Nevada, and they just put their name in. Once you file and the entity is formed, then that organizer then resigns as organizer. And Wyoming does not require you to have an organizer in there. And so they don't, that organizer, they look up that person's name as employee of the company, and they don't know it. So they have no idea. They don't even know what properties I own.
Gotcha. You want to comment on that?
That's absolutely correct. And it's many states do that as well. At Legally Mine, one of the ways that we help you with those entities is, you know, just as you said, Story, is you have an organizer, you know, whoever is filing the paperwork with the Secretary of State. Whenever you file your annual report, most often than not, there's not a line that, you know, asks, is this still the same organizer? Is the organizer still involved in your entity? No, they don't ask that.
Yeah, but this stuff is really good. I urge everybody to seriously consider this if they haven't, and look into this and do something, because it's really essential.
Cool. I got time for one more question. Is that all right, Tim? Peter, you good? Okay. Question in the back.
But just for any of us who maybe want to ease into it, is there?
Hands up, please.
Thank you, Gary. Appreciate it. For anybody here who wants to ease into it, maybe for whatever reason we're not comfortable with the whole 8,400, but we want to still use your services. Is there a way to kind of pay you guys for piecemeal? I don't know if you're okay with me asking this or not, but it might be helpful to everybody. Can we, you know, utilize your services per hour or per flat fee for some things? For instance, maybe setting up a couple Wyoming LLCs or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
Is that possible? Maybe that way
I'll take that.
all of us in the room can start using you guys, even for the ones who don't want to pay the 8,400 at first. And then we get to know you, and you know, and then of course you go from there.
It's a really good question. My goal is to help you in whatever situation that is. So I would say that the majority of you would need at least a holding, so you'd be a family limited partnership just for your own finances. Okay, so that's one that people need. The second one is usually a holding company. That's the Alaskan one that we talked about. So most people need those two. And then oftentimes they'll also need an LLC, if not multiple LLCs, or a trust. So I would say everyone I've talked to, regardless of profession, they need the FLP and they need a holding company. Rarely do I meet someone who that has those two. Okay? Even if you have Wyoming LLCs, you're still going to want a holding company that's in Wyoming or Alaska. It may feel like overkill, but you need those. So here's your option. You can you just want to engage in our services and be able to talk with us and see kind of what the plan would potentially look like. It's $2,400. Okay, so that's your step into the game. Now, if you want to go ahead and get unlimited entities, that's the $6,000 portion of it. But if you want to buy one entity at a time, it's $2,000 per entity. So if you're like going to say, well, $2,000 for an LLC, I can go to LegalZoom and pay that $150 for that. You're going to get $150,000 or $150 value as well. All you're doing is formulating an LLC. What you're not doing is you're not putting it in the right state and you're not changing the verbiage that gives you control. Okay? So you will pay legal fees to do that. So you could do that, and then you pay the FLP when you're ready and this is ready. But the problem is, if you do that, you just continue to go and the cap just extends on. So what I would do, rather than that, is say, why don't we put it into a payment plan that it's palatable for the next year, or for the next 3 months, for the next 6 months. Try to avoid as much as we can in interest. So I'm here to work with you guys. So if you don't want interest, you got to do your payments a little bit faster. Okay? But if you said, I just want to get this done now because I want the protection now, great. But I want to make sure that if you just want to talk to us, $2,400 is the minimum for us. Okay? But I would strongly suggest and lean towards the unlimited entities because it also comes with the tax savings guarantee. So I'm going to give you another scenario. When I invested in Legally Mine, I made the least amount of money I had made in my entire life. Okay, I was making like $65,000 a year. Like, what am I doing? Well, I just lost my. I got fired from the job that I had ownership in. It was a big coup, so I left that. I had to go sell door to door. And that's the year that I decided to do this because I said, I don't have the money right now, but I know I'm going to get it in the future. I invested $8,400, it was actually $7,900 then, okay, 7 years ago. $8,400, I invested in it. They only saved me $5,000 in taxes. So they gave me a check for $3,400, it only cost me $5,000. And now when I build an entity and so on, cool, no money out of my pocket, I'm done. It's all good. The only thing I pay for is a $200 maintenance fee. That I get all the access to these people. So, great question. I hope that answered that question. Good, cool. Anybody else have any questions for me? Go.
So, on the tax, and Garrett, maybe this question is for you. So, a lot of the folks in here are in the real estate, multifamily arena, and there are a lot of tax strategies more at that property level, and I think, as far as I understand, Legally Mine has coverage over those as well. So could you maybe share a little bit about the tax support people could expect on the real estate front, because there's a lot of tax topics that are really bespoke to that, 1031s, cost segregation, sort of property level tax support, and how you could offer us benefits on that front.
Awesome, good question. Legally Mine, we don't have attorneys who are admitted to practice in every state in the country. We recognize that as a limitation. So the way that we're able to help you in your specific state or the state wherever your property is located, we couple with your advisors that you have currently. Your CPA, you may have another attorney that you've worked with. If you don't, we're able to find a way to connect you with somebody who is local that we can partner with them to be able to do that. Now, regarding the strategies, how many have ever done a 1031 exchange? A few hands. Okay. Who all had to be involved in a 1031 exchange? You had to have a qualified intermediary. What else did you have to have? Sometimes. You have to have several moving parties involved, we'll put it that way, okay? Legally Mine, we're not able to facilitate the paperwork or to be the qualified intermediary to do the 1031 exchange. But from the tax savings standpoint, and I do this regularly, work with your local attorney, with your CPA, with whoever is acting as the qualified intermediary, to be able to help you structure that deal to where you can get the best tax savings out of that. And then going forward, because as you know in a 1031 exchange, you have time deadlines. You have 45 days to where you have to identify a replacement property. 180 days where you have to close on that property. Properties have to be either equal or greater value than the property that you are exchanging. So there's a couple little ins and outs there. So we're able to help many accountants that I've worked with in the past. They've never been involved in a 1031 exchange, so it may be their first time doing this. And so think of Legally Mine, what we do, tax savings, is we're an additional member of your team, if you think of it that way. You already have a great team of advisors who help you. We're not here to replace your CPA. We don't replace your attorney, but we work with them as an integral part of your team to be able to incorporate these strategies. And there's many, many strategies. I mean, I'd be more than happy to talk with each one of you individually, you know, on various questions. I literally could talk for hours and probably put you all to sleep, you know, regarding tax strategies, but again, they may not be applicable to you.
So what I've got here, I'm looking to continue with some questions, but if people want to come up, this is an enrollment form, so I just grab one of these. You fill out the top information, is your personal information, your billing stuff, and then I will send you a text tonight and we'll get rolling with you. So I have these available for you, but I just want to keep going up with questions. So if anybody else has any questions, do we have more questions in the back? Come on, none in the back. Cool. Well, it sounds like we've got a lot of things covered today, Tim. I appreciate it. You want to take it from here?
Yeah.
Okay, so if you guys want to, we're here. Garrett and I will be here until they kick us out. So just come and talk to us. I want to know your situation, see what we can do to help you out. Thanks so much, guys.
Well, that was quite educational, Gary. I appreciate you coming down and sharing with that. Everybody, please, when we kind of release you, make sure to stop by Gary and Garrett and talk to them about your situation, what kind of things that you guys are concerned about from a tax and legal entity structure point of view. A couple of things. Well, first, before I get into that, I think can you put up your slide with the number? So if you don't have the ability to come down tonight, you know how to get a hold of them.
Yeah, if you're not, I also have some paperwork so I can get your information too. If you're not, but here's mine, because you all want to text me. Just text me tonight, your name. Don't just, otherwise I don't know where you're from or what's going on, so just text me your name right now. And I have my phone right here, it's like legit my cell phone, so I know who you are. Just put mastermind.
Multifamily Deal Group. Or Gary, I need your help.
Gary, I need, yep, and then your name. We all need help. No one's texted me, and y'all took pictures, so I'm waiting for my text message.
Text them your pictures, all of them. All right. So, couple homework items. So, Claudio wants to do some testimonials. If you want to share a few good words about your experience tonight, please visit Claudio, or Claudio's gonna ask you probably. But try and visit Claudio in just 30 seconds, 60 seconds, just a little testimonial.
I would love that.
And we'll share that. There's also, you might have noticed, we had Maury. Thank you, Maury, taking photos of everyone. Round of applause. These photos are going to be posted online, and everybody here will have access to them. Am I correct, Maury? So you're going to be able to have access to this. So if you were taking a really good bite of chocolate cake or something, he snapped that, you will be able to get those photos. So the way you're going to find that is in our WhatsApp chat, which Gary's going to be in there as well. So if you forget the number or you need something, you need legal help, we'll be able to connect you with Gary from there as well. So in this WhatsApp chat, JP, can you bring me, not that one, no, that one. This WhatsApp group has most of the members in it. So not only will be the location of the photos, but it's also a great resource for questions and reaching out with other folks in the industry. And it might be too hard to zoom in on this, but if you want to join the group and you're not already in it, this is it. We'll leave it up here. A couple reminders. This group meets every 2 weeks. This location, same time, 7 p.m. every 2 weeks. So if you like what you heard today, we're going to have more. We always have excellent networking. Everybody leaves happy that they came, and they're building good relationship, doing deals together, achieving success together. Where's Lewis? Lewis hosts a technical underwriting meeting. Is it every week or every 2 weeks? What is it? Every 2 weeks. It's phenomenal. If you're nervous about looking at properties, Lewis has been great at that. And now we're going to start calling the owners live on the call, right? There we go. All right. So, did I forget anything? No, that's it. So, again, come down, meet Gary, fill out the paperwork, let him know. I'm sure they can help you. Again, don't forget, the $8,400 is risk-free. If they don't save you $8,400, you give it back. All of it. So
And it's in writing, so.
it's impossible to lose money here.
It is impossible to lose money. It's the best real estate investment you will make.
And everybody's gonna pick up.
Money.
It's amazing when, I remember the days when I wasn't looking at taxes and then had some representatives of the tax code take a look at it, and it's amazing how much can be saved because almost everybody's making silly mistakes just because they don't know. So really consider that because you can't lose a penny. Alright, so that concludes the formal portion of the event. Again, this restaurant's open for a little bit longer, so feel free to continue networking. Don't kick us out when we gotta leave, but we normally get a lot of free time to do that. So appreciate everybody coming again. It's been great, it's been wonderful, and we'll see you in 2 weeks.